I'm Alexandra Huneeus, and I'm a member of the Board of Editors of the American Journal of International Law, AJIL, and a professor at the University of Wisconsin. This video is part of a series that we're calling AJIL Bookmarked, in which editorial members delve deep into AJIL's back catalog to bookmark articles for rereading. And when I first heard about this initiative, I immediately thought of a 1909 article by Alejandro Alvarez, a Chilean scholar and ICJ judge, and the article is titled Latin America and International Law. In the article, he argues for the existence of a regional international law that is of the Americas, North and South, and distinct from general international law. Alvarez's article is in the grand style of scholarship and begins with a bold declaration. The entry of Latin America into the community of nations is one of the most important facts in the history of civilization. Now, you might wonder, how could this moment in history that receives barely a mention in history classes in the United States be such a world-defining event? The argument is that through the independence of the states of the Americas is born a new practice of international law and a new world order. It's a practice foreign to Europe and indeed forged in resistance to European power and responsive to the distinct context, culture, people, and history of the Western Hemisphere. Alvarez further tells us that the essence of this new law of the Americas is contained in the 1823 Monroe Doctrine and is put into effect by the United States. He writes, "The Monroe Doctrine expressed so clearly the situation of the New World with respect to the Old and contained such an accurate synthetic statement of the aspirations and destinies of America as to become its political gospel." In this article, then, Alvarez argues that there's a distinct regional practice of international law of the Americas, and that its core lies in the Monroe Doctrine, which is understood here not as a one-sided power grab by the United States, but as a doctrine upheld by all the Western Hemisphere states, if enforced primarily by the strongest among them, the United States. Alvarez closes by listing the distinct doctrinal contributions of the Americas to international law, which include, he argues, the freedom of the seas, commercial liberty, the abolition of the slave trade, respect for the rights of the individual in his person, beliefs, and property, and there are several more doctrines that he closes with. What is most striking to a contemporary reader in Alvarez's Old World and New World schema are the blind spots, the exclusions. He views the world as Creole and European, but what about everybody else? As Liliana Obregón, Arnold Becker, and other contemporary scholars have written, his was the project of a racially constructed elite, the Creoles, to become part of a new world order. But excluded from his view are the indigenous people, the Afro-descendant peoples, and others who form part of the Americas, whom he relegates to voiceless, unthinking, and governed by Creoles. Today, his view does not hold legitimacy. Indeed, indigenous groups from the hemisphere have played an important role in reshaping international law to recognize the protagonism and the rights of indigenous people within its doctrines. A second set of exclusions is that of the whole world beyond Europe and the Americas. The article was a love letter to the US in its final ascent to undisputed world power at the dawn of the American century. Entirely absent are Africa, Asia, both colonized and free states. The article was always a deliberate and racialized exclusion rather than a description of the world, but it was one that Alvarez must have felt was strategically beneficial to Latin America. As I record this, war is raging in the Ukraine, creating a realignment of alliances in the West as China stands back. One new scenario that seems a likely result is the rise of regionalism in a multipolar world. So yes, it's timely to inquire, what is regionalism in international law? What does it do? How can it help or hinder? And what is its potential? Alvarez's article is an early exploration of these themes. It also serves as a reminder of how racialized categories are used and abused to construct regional orders. We hope you enjoyed this brief trip back to the first years of the AJIL archive, and I hope it inspires you to bookmark your own discoveries from the journal's pages.